Hi, and welcome to another episode of Beyond Entertainment, the Panasonic podcast. I'm here today with Josh Marks, CEO of Anuvu. And today we're going to be talking about content and the CSP world. Josh, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a great conversation. Looking forward to it.
So Josh, why don't you start off with just telling us a bit about Anuvu and the world of CSP and yourself as well.
Sure. So I'm a veteran of the airline and technology industries. I've spent my 25-year career balancing time between being in airline operations, management, and being on the technology side for aviation. I've had experience in aviation analytics, built a company in that space that was acquired by Global Eagle Entertainment at the time, which is how I came to what is today Anuvu. And I've been chief executive of the company since 2018. I have a number of passions in life. Really, the thing I think about most is how passenger requirements, how passenger desires are changing over time. So it's a thrill every day at Anuvu to get to work in the different areas that we operate in. And those really fall into two major categories of services. First of all, we're a leading provider of connectivity services by satellite for narrow-body aircraft, for A320s, Boeing 737s. We're very focused on what we do, but we're one of the larger players in that specific niche. That represents about half of our business. And then the other half of our business is a media company, and we provide entertainment services to airlines. We're the leading provider of movies, television, audio, advertising, and other content to airline IFE systems. And then we also are a leading broadcaster of live television services to airlines, but then also to cruise ships around the world. So a very diversified portfolio, but touching the passenger experience in many different ways.
It's very exciting. Obviously, you work with all the IFE providers, ourselves included, and the largest CSP.
Yeah, we are.
We just came from the AIX Interiors show in Hamburg. Lots of themes at Hamburg, very specified around content. One of the ones we really want to touch on today that's a big discussion point in the industry today is edge caching. So what is edge caching? How does that work?
So I think when you get on board an airplane and you as a passenger sit in front of a screen, you expect the entertainment on board to basically have stuff of interest to you as an individual. And I'm sure you can imagine that given the different passengers that an airline flies, passengers by route or by region around the world, some airlines have really diverse requirements on board in terms of what entertainment they want to show. In addition, what people like differs a lot by age category. You have millennials and younger individuals on board who are digital native. They've become fully accustomed to browsing subscription services at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they've frankly seen everything already, right? And they turn to short form content. They like episodic content. They like YouTube content. Right? That's a very different demographic requirement than, say, older individuals who are still traditional movie watchers. They want to watch long-form movies. So when you take that diversity of content and then you overlay that with regionalization that may be required, whether that's subtitles or dubbing, the editing requirements some countries require by custom or by law, you can imagine that there's a really diverse, exponential amount of content that has to go on board the aircraft to meet every one of those desires. So the question becomes, how do you get that content to the aircraft? Today, we load content onto planes generally once a month, right? And that's due to the value chain. I'm sure we'll talk about that in today's conversation. What we need to move towards is finding a way to get that content on board so it delights the passenger as soon as they're on. So edge caching is a concept where you basically look at taking all of the different content that may be relevant and putting it on the aircraft in advance. Technologically, that's now possible because media servers on board are much bigger. But practically, that's still very complicated. I think that the ultimate answer, is going to be that content has to be moved quicker into the channel, but it has to get closer to the aircraft. But just like today, where every piece of internet content you watch isn't stored on your personal machine, it's going to sit in a content distribution network that's close to your machine. That's the model that I think OEMs like Panasonic and content service providers like Anuvu need to move towards.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the the current model being more like FedEx and the new model perhaps being more like pre-positioned content up close?
Yeah, that's a great analogy. So you could think about the way that the content value chain works as having to move packages of content from studios and content owners on one side to the seatback screen on the other side. So studio to seatback. Now, the way that has worked in the past, in the pre-digital cloud world, was that a content service provider like Anuvu would basically function like FedEx, as you say, and that we would go send a courier to pick that file up from the studio. We would bring it to our warehouse. We would manually process that piece of content. We would localize it with subtitles. We would edit it. We would transcode it for the different systems that were on board aircraft. And then we would send another delivery courier out to hand that content off to you at Panasonic to load onto an aircraft. What we need to move towards is more of a model like how Amazon works today, how third-party logistics works, where content owners pre-position content into the channel. Give us as content service providers a chance to localize that content, to prepare it in advance, basically get it ready to ship out the door right at the minute when it's required. And then having that content in a digital asset library that's fully integrated with OEMs like Panasonic. As soon as your systems on board the aircraft detect that that passenger has an interest in that piece of content, immediately draw that content across to the aircraft, either over a Wi-Fi system at an airport or over the top using satellite connectivity. I think we all agree that's where we need to get to in order to delight passengers on board. But there are many aspects of the business model, from licensing models to how studios and CSPs interact to the technology on board the aircraft, that all need to adapt to achieve that vision.
Josh, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. And thank you for joining us on another exciting episode of Beyond Entertainment. Please like, comment, and subscribe to anywhere you catch your podcasts. And we'll see you on the next episode.